Hey everyone, how's it going? So, part 12 I think we're on. I'm doing something a little different in that I'm actually going to be pulling some inspiration from uh, one of the campaign missions from Halo 2. If it'll let me get into it, but it doesn't look like it is, so I guess I will just have to use the Steam Deck. Is that Outskirts or is that Metropolis? I couldn't tell. Regardless, is Metropolis. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to back out of that. That's right. So while that's doing its thing, let me get you up to speed on where we're at. I've made quite a few changes. I did manage to find a good amount of time to forge. So I guess let's back up for a minute. I did mention I want to have a walkway across there on either side, so you can kind of expand the play space into these tunnels now. So obviously this side, we have this worked out the way this is going to be. I really like this. But I haven't worked out, what was going to be on this side. I had it worked out in my head, but I hadn't actually made anything yet. So here we are. I think I have to show you the whole building. I don't think you guys have seen that yet. So here's the whole building. And I'm still kind of in the process of deciding on certain assets to use. Various parts of the architecture. So, yeah. That's the outside of the building. It's going to do this, little curve around there. Let me back out of this. Oh, let's me leave here. All right. So, and then this is the inside. I'm thinking this is a hotel, which kind of makes sense. It's pretty common for areas of mass transit to have some sort of housing and hospitality directly adjacent to it. So, kind of makes sense that you'd have a hotel there. So immediately, you probably know where I'm going with this. The thing that comes to mind is Hotel Zanzibar, right? This is taking place in the same city at the same time. So, and that's a good example of a hotel we are pretty much all familiar with. So I'm trying to style it off of course, the original map. Oh, I think we're having some issues with the stream. Let me make an adjustment to the stream real quick. Sorry about that. I have to adjust my video bit rate. Alright, let's try this again. Hopefully this is coming through now. I just restarted the stream on my end for OBS. Apologize for my terrible aim. I mentioned this before, but I'm playing on the Steam Deck, and I'm watching the preview window in OBS to follow along, which works pretty well, because my Steam Deck screen goes black when I have another HDMI input in it. I could get a capture card if I wanted to. Actually, I think I might. I think I might. Now I'm thinking about it. Okay, so this is what I want to take a look at. Hotel Zanzibar. Why do I want to take a look at this? Because I'm basically recreating this sign. I mean, not exactly, but something similar to it. So there's actually nothing holding it up, which is interesting. I mean, I guess you don't notice, but again, this goes back to what I mentioned before, where in the old game you don't notice stuff like that, but if you switch to the new graphics, I guarantee you there's something holding it up. Yep. And I knew it without even looking. I knew there would be something holding it up, because it just doesn't make sense in the new graphics to not have that. In the old graphics, you can get away with just not including stuff like that. Oh, there's no wall there all of a sudden. All right, so where's a good spot to get a good look at this sign? I mean, that's pretty good. All right, so I'm going to try to match this font as much as I can. It looks like it's slightly italicized, which would make my job a little bit harder, but I still think it's doable. Like, I think the letters are leaning a little bit. They are. They totally are. They're leaning to the right a little bit. It's very dark. Do you see that? They are slightly leaning. So how I'm doing it in my map is having them on these panels to have some sort of background and kind of a support looking thing. These actually aren't panels. I just added a texture and color and like made them really thin, but they're actually fans. They're the same thing that's right here. But I noticed the back of them is like totally smooth. And I took a mental note that like that would make a good like billboard or something in the future. And so this is what I'm using them for. And I think it looks pretty good, you know? I'd like it if it had more contrast against this, so I might actually make this lighter. I don't know. Fabric braided. Where's the fabric? Oh, the design grid is this part right here. Yeah. You don't see that part at all from the map, so it doesn't really matter. All right. So they're slightly italicized, which does make me kind of reconsider this approach a little bit. It's stylized, and I want to match it. It's going to be tricky, but I think just having it perfectly straight and uniform is not the way to go. I think I need to match the look, which means narrow on the vertical parts and thick on the horizontal parts. And there's sections where it doesn't actually meet. Like the H right there, it doesn't meet on the left side, or the E. The A doesn't actually have anything in the middle. So I think we can do this. And the fact that it's blocky really helps us out. See, the new one, it's stylized a little bit different. They got all fancy with an O, because now you can have lots of curves, lots of angles in your geometry, whereas before they had to make things a little bit blocky. I kind of like the look of the old one, and not just because it's going to be easier to recreate. All right, let's do that. Should this be what I'm working on right now? Absolutely not. Is it what I'm going to work on right now? Yes. Yes, it is. Now, how much of it's a decent angle? 2 degrees, you think? Here's the thing, is if it's too little, it looks accidental, right? It looks like I just don't know what I'm doing. Too much obviously has its own problems, so it's got to be this kind of sweet spot. I want to say 5 is just too much, but it might be just right. Maybe 4. 4 looks pretty good. It looks like the left side of that is thin. Yeah, the vertical sections are thin. Horizontal sections are thick. So for us, I will say thin is... We'll say thin is 0.8. So that's 4. This will also be 4. And 0.8. And this we will have thicker. These also have to be recessed a little bit more to further like accentuate the thickness differences. So this has to go 0.4. That's good. That already looks way better. Go about there and there. It's like most of the way up, but not quite, you know? I think we'll do 1.2 is good. Maybe 1.6. No, too much. 1. Yeah, that's good. Needs to be a little bit more separated than that. I like it. However, this is vertical. This is angled. This is kind of messing me up. And I don't want to add a whole extra piece of geometry just to match that angle. I'm trying to figure out what annoys me more. The further the separation is here, the less you're going to notice it. And the less italicized these are, the less you're going to notice it. Maybe we can go down to 0.3 and separate it just a bit more. So we'll go forward. I mean, I like that. Now you can't super tell that those angles don't match up. You could still tell it's got a bit of an angle to it, you know? I like that. Oh, what I should have done before I did anything is you could argue I really should get the roof done first. And I'm inclined to agree. What I'll do with this, though, is I'll actually make this piece like pretty massive. So I can just use that one piece for the whole thing. Like we'll call it, would 184 be good? No, way more than that. Call it 220. It's got to come out to here. And to there. So we'll go up to 250. Getting closer. 280. I think that should be pretty close. Okay, that's good. I have another method for these corners that I'm going to do, and I forget who mentioned it last time, but the triangle pieces, I think I could still get them to work as long as this is a 45-degree angle, and they should match up perfectly right at the seam. So, these work great from the outside, so for these over here, I'll leave these alone because this only uses one piece. This uses one piece, but from the inside, not good. No bueno. This also has to be taller. Oh, it can't be taller. Then this has to be thicker. Okay, keep that in mind. That seems pretty good there. I'll go ahead and duplicate that. I really need to do it for the whole thing. I need to get all the way out to here. But I really need the edge of the building before I can do the roof. And I need the roof before I can do the sign. Hopefully the stream quality is a little bit better now. I apologize for the beginning of the stream. It was a little bit wonky, but it should be pretty good now. What am I going to do about this part? Let me think. The issue here is I'm going to have this corner intersecting this corner. So I'm going to have this going this way and this going that way. And they're going to, from the other side, they're going to be like poking through each other. Like that, if you could imagine. Angled. I don't know if it makes any sense what I'm trying to do. It's going to be poking through right here. Just like this. I could get them to meet up at the corner, and they would touch right there, and they wouldn't intersect, but then there would be this like V-shaped hole, which there is a piece I can use for that for the outside, but it's going to be square looking on the inside. I need to come up with something that either looks good from the inside and then something to cover it up from the outside, or it looks good from the outside and something to cover it up from the inside. And considering that I'm prioritizing the fidelity of the outside because the outside's remaining constant, the inside is entirely new. So it's up to whatever my discretion is for what I want to do in here, because this is new territory. This hasn't existed before. The outside needs to remain the same. So I think I need to prioritize keeping the outside looking good, and then come up with a way to patch it from the inside, something creative. So to do that, let me just check my batch of goodies over here. Make sure it's not something I already pulled out. I don't think it is, no. Add another building there. Wanted to get an idea like how big I needed to make this. Oh, here, I could do this right now. I'm gonna pull this out to like there and make this like 4, no, 300. Yeah, just like that. Do the same deal with this one. I may as well get them to match up. Just do like 500. Do like 450. 462. 464. That's pretty good. Now, yeah, it's going to be slightly taller than the other one. That's okay. You're not really going to see this. I have something planned. I don't want to spoil it just yet. But I have something planned where I do kind of need this outer space to look a little bit convincing. I have an idea. I won't say too much, but Try 200. You know, actually, I could bring this down and it could match up. The thing is, this door here is higher than this door over here. And it's not that, like, something was, like, mismatched. It's more there's just, like, terrain between these two. I don't have any, like, flat connection. So maybe they're aligned at the same height in the original game, but I, you know, doing what I can here, right? So... not that it even really matters, except, again, without spoiling anything, I do kind of need them to visually... I need this area to look polished enough for a cool idea. I'll tease you a little bit with my idea. Think about the time we're in right now. What's happening at the moment? I have the space elevator there. There's conflict going on with the Covenant, which stands to reason there should be a Covenant cruiser floating right about here. Right? So I need to make Covenant cruiser for this to match up. Obviously, the Covenant cruiser isn't always floating over the city, but the Covenant rode that cruiser to get here, so it has to be there for the timeline to make sense. The cruiser doesn't leave until it rips a hole through slip space and destroys the city. Now, if you remember the other big team maps, significant things happen on the map when you get a capture or a significant goal, right, for objective-based things. I could do that. I do want to do something big that happens at the end of the game, because there's an end video. I forget what they call it, film, camera, whatever. Like at the beginning of the match, your Spartans are like, you know, punching the air and like, yeah, heck yeah, we're gonna rock this, yeah. And at the end, they're like, you know, the winning team has a camera on them. What would be cool is if, like, I'm basically spoiling it at this point, something big were to happen. Something big that would happen at this time in this location. Right? And I do kind of need to have these streets visible. Right? See where I'm going with this? Maybe not. Maybe I sound crazy. But I do have a plan. So it will require me to kind of polish up this area just a bit. Again, it's just for the cutscene at the end. I'm not going to do a whole lot more than I was going to anyway, but at least not leaving any gaps in the floor. You need to be able to see the city, which means I need to make this like turn convincingly and all that too, which not a big priority at the moment, but something I will need to evaluate at some point. I'm like thinking through it right now. I'm so far away from that I need to just not think about it right now because it's distracting me. All right. Oh, yeah. You see why I get like nothing done? Okay. Let me do this. Let me do this real quick. This piece right here. I love this triangle piece. The other triangle pieces suck. This one's great. Because it actually moves, expands in the direction you expect it to. Okay. Can I do this without you getting all wonky? Yes. Probably wondering why is he trying to do this by hand when there's the coordinates that he can click through, but it's because if you guys were here when I did this lovely curve in the track, when I incrementally change the angle, it goes all cattywampus. It goes nuts. This needs to be more like 3. Oh, and it grows down. Perfect. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. All right, 3. And then this can be 3. Honestly, the thicker this piece is, the more the rest of this is going to make sense. All right. Actually, 3 is a little bit too much because now it's sticking through the bottom. Well, I could make this 3. Am I going to make it 3? Yeah, I'm going to make it 3. Okay. Oh, and of course it goes up, not down. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh. That's looking good. It's looking good. And that's also 17 units. So if I make this 17 by 17 and I angle it at 45 degrees and I make it metal corrugated. Of course it's going the wrong way. I think I made this 3.5. Nope, it's 1. So this is not reflective at all. And this, I need to make 1 as well. That looks better. Dang, does that not look like Halo 2 aesthetic right there? Does that? I'm so happy with the way that looks. This could still work. I just need to tip it up right. Go on. Go on. There. Okay. Okay. And tip it this well. Honestly, it's more important it matches up with this. Okay, and that is fine. And then up like that, and like this. Get that to a perfect 180. And then that should be facing the right. So there's a direction, but there's also, if you look, a slight shadow that makes it look like they're overlapped, which for like a roof, you'd want the shingles to be overlapped that way so the water doesn't get under. I know that's like way more detail than anyone would care to like look at, but you notice it without actually noticing it. You know what I mean? Samuel, keep grinding. Love stream. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Why doesn't this match up? Maybe this won't work. I think it will. I think it's just this is going to be sloped more than it was before. And I also need to make this source value. Cool. And it's a little bit too distressed. Where do I have this at? You also noticed grime a lot more on smaller objects. The grime's more highly concentrated, whereas this huge piece, the grime is spread out amongst the entire piece. this way. This is supposed to go that way. I'm gonna figure this out, guys. Have faith in me, please. Ah, come on. Yeah, I don't know if I can get this one to work. Yeah, hopefully you see what I'm talking about. The shingles have to align a certain direction, a certain orientation. So down this way, but I have to have the flat side over here. I could rotate it 90 degrees, but that would make them face the wrong way. They would go this way here. Or they'd go up. Yeah, that's the best. I could either get them to go the right direction, but they're stacked the wrong way, or I can get them to go 90 degrees the wrong way. I don't know what's better. 45. Yeah, see, I knew something was off with this. It's not a 40... Okay. What am I doing wrong here? It is a 45. It is a 45. But it's 17 there, and it needs to be less. This is not a perfectly square triangle. Look how much taller it is than wide. So it needs to be half of whatever value this is. 24. So 12. It needs to be 17 by 12, which explains why I had to move everything over. I didn't actually have to do that. It does need to be 17 tall, but it only needs to be 12 wide. Now I can move this back to the corner, and I think this may have solved our problem. Oh. 12. And look at that. Oh. Oh. Although, honestly, I think that'll be good, because this is going to be completely concealed. Dang. Oh my gosh. Right? So good. Magnetize over there. You're not going to. Okay, that's okay. And then negative X direction. Doesn't that feel nice? Look at that. Yes. Okay, actually I need to shorten it by this amount right here. Yeah, which is what? 12 units. So instead of 162, we'll try 150, which means we need to move it left 6, which means negative 6 this way, which would bring us to 41. Oh my gosh. Did I nail that or what? Okay. I know, I got this Hotel Zanzibar sign. I don't even know if I'm going to get to it tonight. So much more I have to do. My controller is disconnected. That's okay. That's right. Not a big deal. Just to polish this corner off, I'm just going to do this piece right here. And I'm going to call it 30. Is there really that much more grime on one side of it than the other? How does the other side look? No. Alright, so I'll turn down the coal a bit. And if I turn up the scratch on this, will it give me a nice, like, scratched corner? It does, but also kind of gives me the edge here, which I'm not a fan of. I like making these look as blended as possible. Alright. Looks good. I bet it's going to look perfect on the inside. Yeah. Obviously, I need to do some work on the materials in here, but overall, it's looking really good. Oh. That's right. Steam Deck crashed, but I'm not going to be referencing that until later. I want to say it. I want to have it say, if you haven't figured it out, Hotel Liwitoni. Which even that in itself, I have to make a decision here, because as someone watching pointed out a couple streams ago, Bungie actually misspelled Liwitoni. So do I stick with Bungie's misspelling, or do I use the true spelling? The true spelling is Liwitoni. The way Bungie spelled it was Liwatoni with an A. Normally it has an I. Liwitoni. Which is a district in the current city island of Mombasa. It's on like the southwestern coastline. Actually just south of Kilindini, which there's Kilindini Harbor, which is where Metropolis takes place. What's funny though is that island would need to be like 10 times bigger. The island's not big. It's like 4 miles from top to bottom. Obviously, you know, you've seen the city of Metropolis is way bigger than 4 miles. The space elevator itself has a footprint of like a mile wide. So alright, I think you can see where the problem is going to arise. So it needs to be the same width as this, which I have pegged at 117.8. Let me just make sure this is where I want this. Again, we're running into those difficulties with the magnets, where it just does not want to cooperate. That's not what I wanted. Maybe it'll magnetize. It'll magnetize to something else, which is really annoying. But so like, this is how dumb it is. I could get this to magnetize to this. Come on. Oh, I have something there. See, this can magnetize to this. This can also magnetize to this. This won't magnetize to this, but it will magnetize to this. So I can put this in there and then get this close, turn off the magnets, delete this, and now it's perfectly aligned. How dumb. So frustrating. But, you know. Probably going to use a square piece for this. And I will get this to line up with that. I need to make it just a touch bigger. But I need it. I need the actual roof piece to be smaller. It needs to be like right there. So if we do, here's what we'll do. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14, half of 14 is 7. So 117.1 is the exact distance from this corner to where it meets right here. 117.1. So if I take this, duplicate it, make it 117.1, rotate this till it's 45 degrees. See, like, I can get it to match up here. And that looks great from the outside. But on the inside, that's my dilemma. That's the issue. And I think I need to prioritize making the inside, making the outside look smooth and complete, and then have something in the inside to cover it. And I have more creative discretion on the inside again because the inside of this is entirely new. This doesn't exist in the old one, so I can really do whatever I want here. The outside I want to keep simple and like the original. So I could make a gap there, and then I could fill it with like an antenna. But you know what? We may luck out. There may actually be something there. Let me, here's what we could do. We can actually get this perfectly aligned if it will let us. Nah, not going to let us. It will let us. Oh yeah, it's not actually the same length as this. There we go. Okay. And then how high up is this? 690.09. So we will go, I mean, honestly, I could have just connected it right there, but that's fine. 690.09. Okay. Like I said, we might luck out. I'm trying to remember exactly what this looks like. Now, having an internal space here, I wanted to keep the outside as like original as possible, but I had to make a couple tweaks to make it playable and make the inside reachable. You may have noticed this little spot back here, but there's like a staircase now on the inside. I'm not a huge fan of how long this staircase is, but that's fine. Is my controller awake? No. Right. I think it'll wake up once I get into a game. So yeah, let's go into a game right now. Halo 2 Classic, and go all the way over to Terminal. We may get lucky and find that there's actually something there on Terminal blocking it anyway. That's happened to me before. So we could luck out. All right, not too far. Wait, let's see if this works. Ha! Okay, so we will go on over now. Okay, so not quite. So like this is that spot with the staircase here. There's just like this rock in this one, and I basically made a wall out of it with a staircase behind it to get inside this building, which I thought was pretty good. It actually took more math than I originally anticipated, but I think I got it pretty well worked out. I knew we had these 3 beams here. We could make those beams more pronounced. I think we could do half and half and then cover the overlap with a relatively thick beam. No. No, this needs to be here. This needs to go along. So if you look at the direction the beams go, the beams are parallel to this wall. Or I guess they're running perfectly perpendicular to this wall here. They're not going this way. They're going this way. There's one here, and one here. And I can cover up this gap and this gap. But this needs to end there. And this needs to go over. Yeah. Yeah, that's what needs to happen. So I'll make this longer. We'll make it 162, which we increased it by 12, which means we need to move it forward by 6, which means subtracting 6 from 41, which gets us 30. I can't do math right now. 35. All right, that's pretty close. We don't want to overlap any more than we have to, is the thing. This does have to keep going. How does it look here? Yeah, the angle goes off that direction. All right, give me a minute, guys. Give me a minute. Let me think about this. Problem solving. It's a big part of forging. I mean, if you guys got suggestions, let me know. But that's my dilemma, is I need this to come over here. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of discretion in how I do this. So let me bring this over the absolute bare minimum. Let's start there. Let's figure out the absolute bare minimum this needs to be and see how much of an overlap we have on the inside and how big of a deal that would be to cover up. This should match right at the flat part. And you can see that angle is going up in the exact same direction as it is. And of course, it's a nice round whole number, which we like to see. So let's subtract. Let's just do 160. It's got to be less than that. 158. And then move it back 4, which would be 639. That's still not going to be quite enough, but it'll be close. 6, and then move it back 3. 1, 2, 3. We'll go down 2. Move it back 1. Go down another 2. Nope. Move it back 1. That should be it. That is the absolute bare. Those touch perfectly right there. That's the absolute bare minimum of coverage. And that looks great from the outside. Fantastic. Let's see what it looks like from the inside. This is what we have to cover up. And this is actually, this needs to come over a little bit more, I'm realizing. Or maybe it doesn't. Actually, it doesn't, because the other wall is going to meet it there. So it's actually good right where it is. Okay, so it's actually really not that much to have to cover up. I think we can get away with doing like an AC vent that's kind of going up and over. It's a weird thing though, is you have to like make it look natural and like it's not covering something up, even though that's totally what it's doing. But that's not that bad. I think we could find a way to cover that, you know? Although technically we have to cover this bit because these pieces are 3 units thick. They are touching at the top, but they need to touch on the inside as well. A lot to think about. I'll leave it like that for now. This is not as much as I thought it would be. They're not poking through a egregious amount. It is something that does need to be covered up somehow. Oh, you know what we could do? It's the same thing I did over here. This looks like it intersects there, but it doesn't. How did I do that? That's amazing. Well, that's a triangle right there. And a triangle, a smaller triangle right there. This piece does go through, but it's supposed to go through. Triangle there, triangle there. Could we use a triangle? 2 triangles, right? We need this to stop there. We need that to stop back there. I wish I remember what this was set to originally. I know this one is 117.1. And then this needs to meet up perfectly right. I think we can use a triangle here. Yeah, I think we can. We had to use 2 triangles, but that would solve all of our problems. It's the same principle here, but the reverse. It's instead of having them like this, they're like that. Maybe that was obvious to everyone else. Oh, what the? Okay, that sticks out way more than it was supposed to. That's fine. We're not worried about that. It needs to be the length of this minus the length of this. So this is 12. This is 162. So it needs to be 150. It should match up perfectly right at the base. That it does. Okay, now I need these. Okay. I need it to go the other way. I need it to be the fat end top, skinny end at bottom. It's got to fit together like a pizza slice. I'll tell you what, man, like forging uses parts of your brain that I just don't use that often. We got to angle it first, and then we can rotate it. So I have it set to world. So we'll angle it at 45. Doing things on 45-degree angles preserves that Halo 2 old school look, but also makes things a lot easier. Okay. This is the play. This is the move here. Come on. Okay. Now, because I freaking love these triangles, this is so much better than the other ones, I can just adjust this length, and it won't change this length. Now, these shingles don't line up, but that's a much smaller issue. 8, 6, 5, 5. Now, hopefully, nothing should be poking through. Remember, there's going to be a triangular roof piece right here, which could help me to put in now, but then I wouldn't be able to see down into it, so I don't really want to do that quite yet. And then I need this piece. Except it needs to go the other way. go. 45 degrees. It's 135. Yeah. See what I mean? It especially at this angle where the sun is, you can very obviously tell the shingles are going up in the wrong way because they're highlighted here on this groove, whereas here they're shadowed. Like, if you looked at these two, I don't know if you'd immediately be able to say what's wrong, but that's what's wrong. And it kind of sucks because there's not much I can do about it. I could... No. Alright, you know what I could do? I can't visualize this quite enough just yet, but what if I did 12 and 17? Would that give me... That would put it at a 90 degree, but that might be better. $45. That is less obvious that it's facing the wrong way. So I think I'll do that. I do have to flip it the other direction. And then 45, and then I can slide it into place. I want to say this one will be like 9. Maybe it's also going to be 5. That would like make intuitive sense, but I've been wrong quite a few times so far. Actually, it might just be 5. And since this is the point, the origin, I can just adjust it here, not to move it around. Boom. Oh my gosh. Problem solved. And it took 2 pieces, 2 extra pieces, instead of being able to just meet 2 together, but I think that's a net savings, because we would have had to add... Oh, no. Oh, dear. Oh, these have to match up on the inside because they're 3 units. Okay. Shoot. They have to match at the bottom. Dang it. Okay. All right. All right. We can make this work. These pieces, these 2 need to meet at the base, and then I think we could use these same 2, but they will then meet at the base. Right now there's this little gap, which is not ideal. So we'll make this a little bit bigger. 2. Alright, it's a 45 degree angle. It's 3 units thick. I don't know what that translates to. We'll do 1 unit to start. We'll do 1.2 units to start. So instead of 150, we'll do 150, 1.2, and then slide it forward by 0.6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's already too big. So we'll just do that. Slide it back by 1. That should still line up over here. Why does this look slightly off? I mean, it looks fine from a distance, but... Huh. I'll have to think about it. Apollo 7, worth it. Worth the 2 pieces to get it to line up well? I think so. And since these 2 were able to be the same size, it stands to reason that whatever additional length I give this, I can give to this. And it would remain the same. But since that's already centered at the middle, I should be able to just increase the size by what I increased this by, which was just 1 unit. So it'd be 118.1. All right. Just to check my logic is sound, I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Interesting. Okay. So you know what? I think it was actually fine where it was. The prerogative, the priority is getting this one to match up. This, I can go back to 150, and then I can move it forward by 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that doesn't seem right. Alright, if I increase it by... I'll move it back 1. Apollo 7, yep, okay. Yeah, I agree too. But I think it's going to be sticking through over here. It is. It is, a little bit. It needs to be like a 0.5. Or it sticks through here just a touch, which I think is less noticeable. But it's going to throw off my magnets. So this really has to be matched up. So I have to go down to like a 0.5 increment, which I hate doing, but... So I need to move it forward by 0.1. I need to move it forward by 0.5. 0.5. And then decrease the size. So it's 0.9. So that lines up there, and I bet it lines up here. It does. Okay. So that's fine. Now I believe I can use these again, and I'll magnetize to the same spot, but they're going to intersect at the top, which is fine. It's okay if they do that. But the bottom, ideally, should match up perfect. Ideally. Okay, so they're too big now. But that means they should overlap a little bit on the inside. And it looks like they perfectly meet. We're getting there. Holy cow. I know this is the solution. But you know what? Why is this... That's actually fine. That doesn't matter. You're not going to see that anyway. And even if you were high enough to see it, the ceiling, I think I moved this down on accident. I moved it around because I accidentally magnetized to it. There. Now it's no longer a problem. Ha! Look how freaking perfectly aligned that looks. Ah, man. It's so good. And since this is centered where it needs to be, I know this is exactly where it needs to be. And I can just take this piece, duplicate it. Just for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to change rotation real quick to object. Rotate it. Those should see all these numbers like match up. Come on. Come on. There we go. And then you are doing a complicated puzzle, and there's a piece of the puzzle that you're just wanting to put in, but you just don't have the right piece. It's like that. And then you find it, you're like, yeah, finally. So that's good. It's just kind of shaded a little differently. So is that one, dang it. It has to do with the metal. The metal, even though the what is it? Roughness is, I think, as low as it'll... No, it's like 0.35. So maybe I could adjust the roughness a little bit. No, it's as high as it'll go. I would need to turn it off. And these pieces would all look a lot more uniform. So if I do this and I turn it to off, they look a lot more uniform from different angles. Right? And it's just the way metal acts, and that's why I don't like using it. If I want to get reflectivity out of a non-metallic piece, then I will turn off metal and change the roughness up to to nothing, because then you get some reflectivity out of it. You can kind of see if I get close to the surface, you get those little bit of reflections, but it stays uniform. So I think I'll do that. That piece over there, I don't think it quite matters as much. This one, I do think I need to make that little update. So 0, and yeah, turning it up to full, like no roughness and having it metal makes it like really reflective. I do like the look of the metal because it really looks more metal, but it just doesn't quite behave the way you expect it to all the time. So unfortunately, I'll have to turn it off. I may need to adjust the color a bit, because now it's kind of got more pink than I wanted. The metal blends with the reflections it's producing more, and metal also gives it kind of a green tint, like a coppery green, like, I don't know, bronze maybe is a better word for it. But yeah, look how dark it looks from that angle. Like, the metal texture is just very unpredictable. Or it could have something to do with my like reflection volumes and like how my lighting's set up. Like, I very well could just be doing something wrong. And then I just need this piece here. And then rotate that to 90. And that will match up perfectly. That one. Oh, so good. Oh, no, it's got to match up at the bottom. Remember? But it should just need to go this way. Yeah. You got these two pieces intersecting down this line, and then these two pieces intersecting down that line. That really makes it look like one piece is having that line perfectly centered on both. If you look at it, you could tell these aren't the same piece, but I think turning off the metal... Yeah, it's too pink now. It needs to be more like orangey brown. But honestly, looking at Halo 2, it's honestly more like Forerunner texture, but I'm not going to get hung up on the texture just yet. I'm going to say that as I keep modifying the textures, but yeah. All right. Now what do I want to do? Oh, I need the 3 big supports. So one's going here. Actually, before I do that, I found these later on, and I actually like them better. this is at... and 8. And it should be 20 less than that, which would be 6648, which I think is where I put it to. Nope. 6648. Yep, perfect. Yeah, it's this weird combination of metal and wood. And I mentioned this in other streams, but I'm trying to have kind of color coordinated rooms. Not that everything in this entire space needs to be green, but that's kind of the accent color of this area. So if you spawn in, like, immediately, if someone were to ask you, you know, what's the accent color here? And you're like, oh, it's green. You could be anywhere up here, and you would know where you are on the map, roughly. Theoretically. So those little visual indicators. So not everything has to be green, but just enough. And they don't have to be the same exact green, just like tinted green. Just like in here, there's kind of these pops of purple. But they're really not purple. Like, look at the difference between that and that. You can barely see it. That's a big mistake I see people make, is they go like this. Like, oh, this will be the purple room. And they make it super purple. It also covers up a lot of the underlying detail in the asset, because it has all this nice kind of intricate design work, like variation in it, that makes it not seem like a low poly, you know, like forge piece like what we've had to use in the past in other Halo titles. Like, it actually has some nice texture and detail work to it, you know? So, like, by only adding just tiniest hint, like barely anything, right? But this is now the purple room, and it makes the purple pop a little bit more by pairing it with something on the opposite side of the color spectrum, without losing some of that nicer underlying texture and making it too saturated. It's really not that much color. Even like what should I do? That. It's 0.1. Just the tiniest bit. You'd call this green, but it's like barely green. Right? Like, you don't need a lot. Now, this is like plastic. So it's like, yeah, you kind of expect it to be more of a pop. But even that's 0.2. Like, if you like go full vibrant, you lose a lot of the detail, you know? And it would just be too much. So 0.2. That's all you need. Just a little bit. Just a pop. LA Sharks. Hell yeah. Cool AF. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Alright. So yes, this is where I left off. I'm going to carry this the whole way around. I do need to decide what I want to do with this section, because I need a big support beam going here. Now, do I want it... Where's... Let me turn on my controller. And it's not doing it. Okay, that's okay. So this goes right up to the edge. The problem is I have a wall coming all the way out to here. Like, if you trace this line, there's a wall going right to there. So to get up the staircase, you need to go around. You would need to go around that pillar. See, this wall ends like here, roughly, and you have room to go around it. But there's nothing over here. Like, I don't know if you guys played on this map, but this whole area over here doesn't get used. And what's funny is the defending team gets a sniper rifle. Like, it spawns natively with a sniper rifle right here, but no one knows it's even there. You know? Because no one uses this space over here. So I'm trying to make it more usable, just so there's more. Because if you even if you have a big map, if there's no reason to go somewhere, people won't go there. And even if the map's huge, it's going to play small because if there's a more direct route and there's no advantage to going a more roundabout way, then no one's going to do that, you know? So I think I'm going to add, they put a sniper here, but even with that, people didn't really care for it. I think I'll put some sort of ability up here, maybe the repulsor. Actually, that would be good because one of the things about doing this approach, originally I was going to have it covered with windows like this, but I wanted it more open because I wanted people to be able to see in. And if I can load it up real quick, American Bloodhound, hey man, let me go to the Wraith. I wanted you to be able to just lob Wraith shots into it fairly easily, right? Like, the Wraith is going to be a real... Like, even if you're up there, you're not totally safe. The Wraith can be just lobbing shots into there. Which is, I don't know, I think that's fun, you know? Like, you can still kind of track people and fire in there with it being this open. You'd have a little bit of cover, but that's more like small arms cover. That's more like someone shooting at you with a battle rifle, and you can kind of hide behind that. So that's the idea. Oh, this is kind of cool. I didn't talk about this when I started the stream. American Bloodhound, LOL, fantastic. Yeah, thanks, man. So as you can notice, I have this visual effect right here of this rising embers and smoke to make it give the impression the Warthog is damaged. Now, you spawn a Warthog, it spawns with full health, so you can add all the effects you want to it. The Warthog itself won't be damaged when it spawns. That's true. But if you look, it is damaged. It's missing a tailgate. I think some of the hubcaps are knocked off. It's got sparks in that. The hood's missing. Like, how is it damaged already? I just started it. I go back into play mode. It's fixed. But here you have the VFX thing, the FX thing there. When I load up the map again, I'll go in there. It's broken. How did I do that? Well, that was pretty simple. It's actually, let me say real quick, this guy right here. I wrote a very simple script. There it is. So simple I can't even find it. And it decided to put it way over here. Interesting. You can probably figure out exactly what it does. On game start, damage object. What object? Warthog damaged. Damage amount, 564. Because I discovered the Warthog can take 565 damage before it explodes. Actually, it'll turn red, which tells you it's about to blow up, and then it will blow up itself. So 564, it won't blow up. I also found out through a lot of testing that was kind of annoying at first, because I could not narrow in where this limit is because it kept blowing up unexpectedly. The Warthog has regenerative health. It gains health back over time. If I put this at 565 and start the match, it would blow up. Or at least it would turn red and then blow up very shortly after. Unrelated, Dr. Pepper Strawberry Cream just dropped, and it's pretty great. American Bloodhound, acting like I don't already know that, man. You know me. Except I'm the sugar, zero sugar variety, which it is available in. I haven't tried it yet, though, but I did see that. So, anyway, you get the point. It is frustrating. It was frustrating before I realized that the Warthog regains health. Because I'm like, what is going on? Like, does it change how much health a Warthog has? Like it just changes every round? No, it regains health. So I could do 464 and then add a wait for 20, 30 seconds, and then I can do another like 100 damage to it. Now, I tried that at first because once I got that working, was like, I kind of want this to have more damage. Like, yeah, the tailgate's missing and the hood pops off and it's kind of smoking a little bit, but I kind of want to see like a wheel missing. But I can't blow it up because it will respawn. So I can't just have it totally blown up. It'll disappear. Unless there's a script I could write that would tell it not to disappear. I don't know. I haven't explored that. So I did try to do that. Like damage, I did 564, waited 20 seconds, then did 100 damage, and it accepted the damage. I heard there's like a bang, like when it gets damaged. And then I try to repeat, like every 20 seconds do 100 damage. And so it's this looping thing that damages it every 20 seconds. And it never changed the aesthetic. It never looked any more damaged. So I was like, cool, I'll just keep it simple then. So it does pop the hood off, and it, kind of scratches it up a little bit, and the tailgate and everything pops off. So, and this is literally just, so when you're looking out here, you see a damaged Warthog. That's it. That's literally it. If you happen to look outside of the map. I have a feeling I'm going to get to a point where I need to start reeling in some of the ideas. As I'm at 57% capacity, and I have parts of the map that aren't even fleshed out yet. I think this is the last big piece, which is nuts that I did this whole parking garage with parking spaces and beams and all of that in 3 floors and all this detail. But this was a lot of repetitive stuff. Like once I figured out one, you could probably even see like I was just able to copy it and flip it around and then paste it on this side, And this isn't as polished because you're not actually going to see that far. So, let's see, like that. But this, on the other hand, very little of this I could just like take a big chunk of it, save it as a prefab, and then just rotate it around and paste it. I can't really do that. I could do things like these individual pillars. I can get the spacing right. Like I can grab this, and these, and make that a prefab. Yay. That doesn't save me a whole ton of time. American Bloodhound, the detail is great, though. Thanks, man. I think so, and I appreciate it when people do stuff like that. So, but that is one of those things that I probably shouldn't spend that much time on because, what? Go away. Because I may get to a point where I'm running out of pieces physically, or the performance of the map starts to degrade to a point where I really need the map to be playable. More than I need a convincingly flaming Warthog outside of that gate. When honestly, I could just wall this off and I could get rid of all of this stuff. Like I wouldn't need any of that. But that's just not the way I do things because, I like pain, I guess. The Forge, American Bloodhound, the Forge tools are borderline dev level. They did mention that. They tried to take what they practically could from their dev toolkit and make it surface that as a user-accessible interface. More so than they have with any other Forge previously. So, by no means does... if I'm proficient with Forge, does that make me, a full-fledged game designer or anything? But it is Oh, it's 0.7. These are point. Okay, so I need to get rid of these, or I need to not prefab those. But it does like give you a lot of good experience with game development, processes, I guess. Go. American Bloodhound. Will they just rebrand their dev toolbox as Forge for the next Halo? LOL. Apollo 7. Considering the next Halo will probably be an Unreal, doubt it. So I was actually going to bring that up. It's funny you mentioned that because it was recently announced that, or I don't think it was announced, but leaked, I guess, that the next Halo game will be an Unreal Engine instead of the Slipspace engine. Now, people are reading really deep into that for a leak. That could be true. It could also mean a number of things. I saw another Forger streaming, and he addressed it on there, and I think I can concur with his conclusions that, it could mean a number of things. Not necessarily that the next mainline Halo game by 343 Industries is using the Unreal Engine, but apparently Certain Affinity, who run by Max Holberman out of Texas, they do a lot of Halo stuff because he used to be the multiplayer design lead for Halo 2 and was pivotal in the Halo 1 development process. They do a lot of work. They have in the past done a lot of outsourced work for Halo. And evidently they're working on some sort of battle royale adjacent type of Halo experience. From my understanding, it's not Halo 7, like the official Halo game. You kind of think of like, this is how I think of it, what I think it's probably going to be. You have Titanfall, right? In Titanfall 2, great IP, fantastic game. Then they took the universe of Titanfall and some of the characters and abilities and just kind of that experience and made Apex Legends. Still the same universe and everything. And so it's still like the Titanfall universe, but it's like a more concentrated on a single type of experience, being Battle Royale. There's no campaign component. You don't play Apex Legends to get deep into the Titanfall lore. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of lore available in there, but not the same way you would approach like a single person experience. So that's kind of what I think it's going to be. Another Halo game, yes, and Certain Affinity is switching to, I don't know if switching is the right word, but they're going to be using Unreal Engine for the foreseeable future. So if they are making a Halo experience, which I think they are, it would make sense it's going to be an Unreal Engine. That doesn't necessarily mean 343 is abandoning Slipspace, the Slipspace engine. Now, there could be more to it. I could be missing it. Maybe they did officially say that. I haven't been paying too close attention, but that's my understanding of the situation. 19.8. So, to answer your question, I'm sure they could, but it's easy. They could rebrand their development tools as, Forge. But it's a lot easier said than done. And I can say that having no experience in the game design industry, and then just my own experience from like software engineer perspective. Like it sounds easy, like, oh, just give them the same tools. Like, yeah, but also that's a lot easier said than done. That's just the long and short of it. Because it does still need to be approachable. And if you just hand over your development tools, you're really just saying only seasoned video game designers can use Forge. You want to give them a ton of flexibility, but not sacrifice accessibility. Do you think American Bloodhound? Do you think 343 will scout Forge creators now that the tools are getting pretty advanced? I do wonder. I wonder if someone will come up with something that's just so advanced, it just takes it so far that 343 is like, whoa, we gotta get this guy. But honestly, there's just no shortage of talent out there. People who are, like true game designers. And the fact that they just laid off like most of their staff, I don't think they're hiring anytime soon. So that's kind of a separate issue. I mean, the mod tools for MCC are literally just the dev tools from the Bungie Halos. People struggle with them. They're complicated. Yeah, that's the thing is like you want to balance giving the community as much flexibility as you can, because the more walls you take down, the more barriers to creativity that you remove, the greater the end result is going to be. I mean, look at the kind of things we made in Halo 3 when you couldn't even phase objects together without making a new round, when you couldn't even place an object in the sky. You had to like stack them and then wait till they settled and then delete them. Like, look at the things people made with that. It's nuts. So just opening up doors, bringing down those barriers and like adding flexibility is always a good thing. But you don't want to do it at the expense of making Forge inaccessible to people who are opening it for the first time. So yeah, the mod tools, I mean, mod tools is just like, that's just part of the experience of dealing with mod tools is like, it's like you're very much on your own. Like that is literally just the developer saying, hey, here's access to the back end of your favorite experiences. Go wild. We're not going to have any user guides on this. I mean, maybe at a high superficial level, but this is uncharted territory. So if you're using the mod tools, it's inferred that you know what you're doing. Whereas Forge is pitched as like an actual integral part of the user experience that needs to function like it. Like you shouldn't need a game design degree to use Forge because it's part of the game, you know? American Bloodhound, you made some crazy stuff. Yeah, I mean, we all did, and we were all borrowing from each other and trying things out, and it's just wild, the kind of stuff. People way more intelligent and talented than myself, like the kind of things people came up with. And just the sheer patience. Like, you see what I'm doing here, moving blocks around in midair and, like, phasing and resizing them? Like, you know how long it would take just to place this block here and make it the right size? That would be the better part of an afternoon. And people would make entire maps. It's wild. Apollo 7, I was part of the Halo 1 and 2 mod community back in the day. Oh, very cool. Custom tools were written to inject metadata, etc. That was a fun scene, seeking the H3EK available. Oh, seeing the Halo 3 EK available blows my mind now. Yeah, I've seen, like, I haven't really been in MCC, like, since they've started with modding. I've been, playing other games or only really jumping into Halo for Forge, but I've seen highlights and stuff, and it's pretty wild. American Bloodhound, can they release both? I think that's basically what mod tools are. Forge is the official end user experience that launches with the game and is pitched as something anyone can just kind of pick up and learn and get used to. And the mod tools are like, hey, here's all these resources, just go crazy. But this is like totally, I mean, it's supported in that they let you do it, but they're not gonna, like, if your custom created mod doesn't work, like, no one's gonna support you. Like, you can't submit a ticket and be like, hey, this doesn't work right. Whereas Forge, if something isn't working right, then that you could submit a ticket and it's something you'd expect them to resolve. I think that's the best way, to be honest. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think Forge is fantastic. And for someone like me, that's my level, I love it. It's fun. But yeah, the mod tools and being able to, even if you're not someone who's into the modding specifically, but just being able to enjoy experiences other people make, that's pretty cool. All right. I'm like building all this as I'm talking, and I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, I'm done with this. I didn't even think about it. You know what's funny is like how much time I spend forging mentally in my head when I'm like at work or the grocery store or whatever. Like I'm constantly thinking of things and then like writing notes down on my phone to like do later. All right. Let me think about this. Yeah. This needs to go to there. Hey, American Bloodhound. Hey, Apollo. What was your favorite functional mod? Meaning it could have been part of the game and made sense. Good question. Dynamic Shadows multiplayer for Halo 2. Oh, cool. Now, was that like a resource constraint of the time? Or was that just something that no one had explored yet? It was, yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, they tried to do like stencil shadows or something early in its development, and apparently that didn't work well. They had to like basically redo most of the game in a year. It's wild. All right, let's bring this down to like 12. I just want it to get lined up right there at the corner. Just barely shy. Ah, dang it. Why is that off? That should actually be lined up pretty well. That's not even like a point. Yeah, that's like a 0.005. 0.005. I don't even think it lets you. Yeah. I mean, let's just start there. Let's just start there. We're getting too deep in the weeds here. All right, get this in the middle. Oh, well. Yeah, no, not good. 60, let's do... That's pretty close. .41 actually seems really close. Where is this lined up? Oh, it's an odd number. Dang. That's why I use even numbers, so I can divide them in half and still have a whole number. If I use an odd number divided in half, then I have not a whole number, but at least to a tenth. If I have an odd number, like a 0.3, and I divide it in half, then I'm getting down to 0.15. So I try to keep things like 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, that kind of thing. But for I did the math on this and figured out that this is the size it needed to be. That's all I could tell you. I don't know. Oh, this flat surface is the same width as this surface here. So you have a little bit of symmetry there. I don't know how important that is, but... American Bloodhound TechFox, what was your favorite Halo glitch? Oh, man, so many good ones. There's one in Halo 2 in Metropolis where you can just jump in the Pelican, and the Pelican leaves, and there's spots where the Pelican leaves, and it just barely gets out of sight, and it disappears, because why wouldn't it? Like, you don't need to script it to do anything else, so it just leaves, right? But it doesn't leave. Or it does leave, but it doesn't disappear. And if you jump into it as the Marines are getting out and hold X like you're boarding something, you can get in the Pelican, which is not a mechanic that shows up anywhere in the game. Like, you never get into the Pelican in Halo 2, as far as I'm aware. You do it in Halo 1 at the end of Silent Cartographer, but there's no place in Halo 2 that I can recall where you get in. And you and your buddy, if you're playing co-op, will just be in a Pelican, just like standing there, or sitting there in the Pelican looking at each other. And the Pelican and it goes for a long time. It goes and then clips a building and then goes into this like somersault and eventually crashes. But it's all like not intentional, I don't think. And it eventually lands on like kind of floating in the air. There's like a solid ground. There's collision on the ground, but it looks like you're floating above the water, like, you know, a couple hundred feet. And the Pelican lands and just kind of rolls perpetually. And once it kind of flips over, everyone gets out, like the Marines and you, and you're standing next to it with a Pelican that's kind of rotating there in the air. And if you walk up to it, you'll see a prompt that says, hold X to flip Banshee. And you hold X, and it flips. And in Halo 2, like, if things are moving quick enough, like, they'll damage you or even kill you. Or your Marines, too. So if you did it right, you can get the Pelican, because it's, like, weighted toward the front. You can get the tail of the Pelican to flip up, almost like a whale. And if it's right under a Marine, it just, like, launches them. Kills them instantly. And just launches them in the air. And so it's always this thing of, like, getting around the Pelican and flipping it to roll it over and get it underneath the Marine. And then the side of the Pelican opposite to where you are, it like rolls like parallel to the direction you're facing, and so you just have to get it perfectly lined up, and you could just send the Marines flying or each other, like basically attack each other with a Pelican. That's a wild glitch. It's like hours of entertainment in just a simple glitch. And that's when we found on our own, because keep in mind, this is 2004. You couldn't look up a lot of this stuff. American Bloodhound, haha, I remember a glitch with Pelican freaking out. Yep, it's probably that one. American Bloodhound, I loved the giant Spartan glitch in the one map in Halo 2. Yeah, that was burial mounds. And to this day, I don't know if that was like an intentional thing or what was going on there. So this should be the right length. Man. How do I do this? Let me think for a second. Oh, that's why it doesn't look right. They're the wrong color on this side, but I'm not going to get hung up on that. Okay, well, I will at least rotate it around. There, I can do that. So this actually doesn't match up with that. It does. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. This sticks out too far in front, but that's because this is 3 units wide, and this is 3 units wide, Do I have it lined up here? I don't. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to get it lined up where it needs to be and then worry about the length later. American Bloodhound, we did it, but we were only able to get a giant energy sword. Yeah. I like when it sounds like sometimes when you kill the Spartan with like a lot of force, it sounds like Goofy, like the Goofy yelling sound effect. Like it legit sounds just like Goofy. And that was a good sign that you did the glitch right. That your Spartan's like gonna appear in the sky. What a weird glitch. Super fun though. This is that not? I did that horizontal distance on purpose to conceal that, but the vertical should still be the same. 672.1. Okay. And then this is 690.09. Okay, that's fine. American Bloodhound, it's the Halo equivalent of the starter's falling sound guy. Yeah, basically. Good times, good times. Yeah, horizontal is kind of weird. It needs to be like 0.5. Which I hate, but that's how it is. Honestly, no, I'm not gonna mess with it. I spent like probably 30 minutes figuring out where this needed to be. I'm just gonna deal with the fact that it's a 0.5, 0.05. It's okay. I'll be all right. And then same deal here. Duplicate that, make it the same size as this. That's 41.15. Oh, I hate this so much. Rotate it 45 degrees. And we're at 180. American Bloodhound. Wasn't there a Star Wars game on the N64 that you could push a specific NPC off a cliff to make a sound effect? It was on the Hoth level. Maybe. I think what you're thinking of is... let me save real quick. Open up my Steam library. I have it. I know what game you're talking about. There's the on the same level. There's those like giant. I forget what they're called, but they're like Yetis basically. Star Wars: Shadow of the Empire. You can look it up. I picked that game up because I thought the boys might like it. All right, now I need to figure out what this length is. I swear if it is less than a 0.05, I may need to resize this thing. All right, so it's probably going to be like American Bloodhound. The stupid trash planet level was the worst. Yes, with the train. I did like it. It was fun. I liked that level, but it was hard. Oh, look at that. Exactly 23 wide. Nice. Okay. So I won't use magnets, but it should line up perfectly with this edge. Or be very close. It is very close. I'm going to leave it there, though, because... Actually, I'm not. Uh, 45. That's probably what this one is. Ooh, that actually looks pretty good. Nope. And 85. Yeah, that's good. American Blend on, especially those boss fight in the trash pit. Yeah. Hey, good times. Folk Smash, what's up? Hey, man. Thanks for joining. American Bloodhound also had the dumb water monster boss you can just ran away from. Yeah. I think you remember more than I do. I just remember the Hoth level and being absolutely terrified of those Yeti things. Because you could open doors and they couldn't. So you'd lock them in places and they always came toward you. Regardless of how fat, like, regardless where you were, they always knew where you were and they were always slowly coming toward you, no matter where you were. So if you lock them in somewhere and move to a different part of the map, they may leave that room to get to you. And you may open a door and it's like right behind the door trying to get to you because it always knows exactly. It's terrifying. I don't think they meant for it to be that scary, but it was horrifying when one of those things got out and it was just chasing you around the map. Folk Smash, out of curiosity, why did you not go the Blender route, getting the OG Geo 120 and then work from that? I like the way you do it more, but since learning about the Blender stuff, wondered why not do that. I'll be honest, I don't know Blender. I probably would save myself a lot of time if I did. But I don't. That's really it. I know people have used it, and it at least for what I would do, I'm not making anything. I'm just superimposing my creation over the Blender version of it. So I imagine I could figure that out, right? But it's more like, had I started that at the beginning, maybe that's the route I would go now. But also, I'm not making it one-to-one size-wise. So it would be useful, but only to an extent, you know. I could make simple things and then grow them kind of piece by piece. But are you really not going to magnetize? Yeah, you're not going to magnetize. Why would you? So that's really it. I'm not familiar with Blender, and if I had kind of known about those techniques when I started, I probably would have figured it out. But at this point, basically my major geometry is done. So, and the map isn't really one-to-one. It's like if you put the entire map on a photocopier and hit like 120%, you'd get this. But even then, it's not scaled X, Y, and Z exactly the same amount. Z actually really isn't scaled up much at all. Like, it's basically the same height. Everything. It's maybe slightly taller, but just slightly. It's not that much taller. And it's really scaled, really just X and Y, like 20% bigger. Mostly because the jump height in Halo 2 is taller than this game, because the jump height in Halo 2 is taller than any game. It feels like. But there's clamber in Infinite, so the actual accessible level is pretty close. Like that's where I measured everything. Like things you could jump to in Halo 2, you can jump to in this map. Things you couldn't jump to in Halo 2, you can't jump to in this map. And that's, I kind of figured out, I did some early testing on like what's a comfortable jump height and what's a maximum height you can clamber. And that was very early on. I did that testing, and so I figured out roughly what my scale needed to be vertically. And it's really pretty close. It's slightly higher. Folk Smash, yeah, fair enough. It kind of takes the whole, effort out too. All I know is you can get the maps 1-to-1 and then scale the entire thing, but I guess that would run into its own set of problem scaling. Honestly, it's probably a better technique. Like, it probably is the way to do it. Oh, snap. Ooh, this is going to be tricky. I'm going to have to use my triangle knowledge for this piece right here. Folk Smash specific things and not the whole map. Derek creates Forge bot allows you to import from Blender now using the Halo primitives. Unique just went through and blocked out Sanctuary, Midship, Sword Base, etc. in just a couple days. I contributed code to that bot, so I'm happy. Oh, very cool. That's awesome. I mean, honestly, what do you think? Like, Apollo 7, do you think at this stage, is it worth kind of getting up to speed and familiar with that to, like, at least reference? Or am I far enough along that I should just kind of continue? Like, what do you think? Folk Smash, yee. Unique is where I learned about it. Yeah, Unique has some pretty awesome content out there. Apollo 7, not worth it in your case. Okay. Yeah, like I said, early on, like, I've been working on this map for, like, 3 months. Had I been aware, I'm sure the tools are probably available, I just didn't know about them, then I probably would have invested the time early on to get familiar with it, to save myself the time. But I didn't. That's okay. Okay. Here's where we're going to run into a little bit of trouble. This, I can get to line up just fine, because the angle inward will overlap with the other piece and hide the overlap within itself. The outer piece, the overlap is protruding. But now that I'm a little bit more familiar with getting triangles to line up correctly, I think I can fix that. But I need them to line up at this lowest point there. Then I can use triangles for that section and just a simple block. I'd have to use 2 blocks because it's like a 45-degree angle for this part here. Folk Smash, just finished for sure. I just found it interesting, and I didn't know if you knew about it or not. Wasn't recommending to start from scratch. Oh, yeah. I can't do that. I'll be honest with you. Like, if this map like were to accidentally disappear tomorrow, I probably would never try it again. Like, I've put hundreds of hours into this so far, so it's like maybe not 100, maybe 100. But I'd be like, well, we're done here. So no, I'm not restarting. And I fully accept that someone may use newer tools coming out and just make a better, more faithful terminal map. That's totally fine. It needs to line up right at this point right here. But this is more for myself, you know. And this I can just decrease the size. I would love for it to get showcased and put in matchmaking, and I'll do everything I need to. Like, I know Forge Lord, or I forget, put out all the requirements for getting a map into matchmaking. So I'm definitely going to do everything that is required to do it, but I fully accept that with some of the newer resources or someone who's just honestly better, more proficient, may come out with something better, and that's fine. All right. Paul 7 also completely depends on where you get enjoyment from when forging. If you like creating, then keeping forging during all stages. If you like the art process, then use the bot to import from Blender. Yeah, honestly, if I felt comfortable using it and I knew about it, I definitely would have used the bot for some parts. Some of this, for sure. Like this thing, like this whole thing has caused me like a ton of. It took me so long in so many pieces to get this looking the way it does. It's just crazy. I would have done it for that, like some of these surrounding pieces. It's more the interior spaces. Doing it 1-to-1, I would have had to like go over it again anyway. Probably wouldn't have tried. And I made some changes to it too. Like it's not exactly 1-to-1. For example, this staircase down here. This needed to be a very specific distance away from the door so that when this goes down here, this staircase over here going up is high enough that it can clear it without clipping. It's like if I take it apart, it's very close, I obviously have a lot more work to do here, so just kind of ignore that for now. But there's so many little things like that where, sure, I could start with a simple block out, but I feel like I would change so much that it wouldn't be worth the exercise. But for sure, like some of these outer pieces that you don't have to be running around inside, you don't have to get that. You don't have to accommodate for new abilities of the Spartans because you're not exploring that area. You're not interacting with it. You don't have to worry about can you clamber this distance now? Like, do I have to change that? You don't have to worry about that. You don't need to touch it. It's just there for aesthetics. As long as it keeps the players in the map and it looks good, that's all that matters. So I for sure would do like chunks. Basically, I talked in an earlier stream about the layers of the aesthetics. There's like the first layer that's actually used as a physical boundary. And that's the stuff where you need the most detail. And it serves two purposes. A, it's aesthetic, but B, actually really more importantly, it keeps the players contained. And that I wanted to keep true to the original. The secondary layer is kind of like stuff you see directly behind. Like I would consider this building here like a secondary layer. Same with this one there. Doesn't do anything for containment, but it helps cement the map a little bit further. That I could kind of take or leave as like whether I wanted it to be true to the original or not. And then the third layer, these are just pieces that I scaled that I felt looked like skyscrapers when they were scaled up. That roughly match the general shape of the other skyscrapers. But these are seriously just one piece. I'm not going to try to rebuild the entire skyscraper and make it look perfect and use 1,000 pieces doing it. No. But like here, when it's this close to you, and the fact that you can like run on this to a certain point and like the overall feel of it, like that's the part you see the most, and I wanted that to be the most familiar. So that for sure I would have used it for. Bino43, did you start this before or after I messaged you recommending you do it? I don't know. I don't remember. Folk Smash, Real Forgers put in effort. Haha, Blender seems like cheating. It is working smarter, not harder, but at the same time, meh. I'm just old. Hill 3 Forge, best Forge. I don't think so. I think I'm sure some maps exist that would work this way. But even in the blog posts themselves, like the devs even said, like if you're planning on making a remake, doing it 1-to-1, you're likely gonna have to rescale some stuff just for the mechanics of Halo Infinite. Areas of accessibility, making sure the map pathways aren't too granularized by the fact that you can clamber over things. Like you should have segmentation, fragmentation of the map where you have consequences for choosing a specific path and not be able to just immediately change paths because now you can clamber over something that you couldn't in Halo 2. That changes the way the game plays. So maybe a map like Sanctuary where you can basically climb on anything inside the walls. You could get away with doing it 1-to-1, but I feel like for a lot of maps you probably can't. You have to update something, you know. So yeah, the maybe the actual like block out of the map, maybe it feels like cheating initially, but I feel like if the map is designed to actually be playable in Halo Infinite sandbox, I feel like it does require some additional effort. It just does. Like not that I think you should do more. It does need some curation to make it play properly, I think. So, Apollo 7, I don't consider it cheating. You still place the pieces in Blender. It's just faster since the high level snapping, scaling, etc. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it depends on where you get your enjoyment out of Forge from. I certainly did not enjoy making this. I like the more creative components, like this, like kind of world building. I like that, you know, like the fact that there's kind of a little garden thing here, and like soda can, like someone was drinking here, and there's like an AC unit on the wall, and I don't know, that kind of world building stuff is what I like more. Then so if I could just skip the more mundane parts, like yeah, totally sign me up. TechFox, your map looks absolutely amazing. I won't change anything about it at this point, honestly. Oh, thanks, Paul 7. I appreciate that. Folk Smash, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't think about that, to be honest. The outside aesthetic stuff. Yeah, like it is not worth the. It's a trade-off between like time and piece count, and making sure the map still runs well, and how faithful I want to be to the original. These skyscrapers, these third level layers of aesthetic, are not important enough to get exactly matching to be worth the time and the number of pieces that would require it to build something that big that looked exactly the same. Whereas this, where you're actually physically touching it, you're that close to it, it's worth spending the time and the pieces to make it look like the original. Folk Smash. Oh, wow, I haven't seen this yet. It looks really nice. Yeah, that's the idea. Is this is a hotel. You know, there's a hotel directly adjacent to the station. Something you'd see in any mass transit area. You'd have housing or temporary like hospitality resources immediately available. So a hotel kind of makes sense. So this would be like the lobby. You know, you got some rooms here, little waiting area. A front desk I'm going to put right here. This is going to be a globe that like slowly turns, you know. So that's kind of what it's going to be. American Bloodhound, like explaining the puddle. It's so silly how much that bothered me. So as you guys know, inheriting the terrain is great for making sure your pieces like look natural, like they flow into one another, because it inherits like look at this puddle here. If I go through the ground, it's inheriting exactly what's underneath right there in the same exact location, right? Exact same texture. But if you look, there's a lot of variation here, a lot of changes, like pathways or some grass, some dirt. And I was like, I could leverage. This is when I just first decided where I was going to put the map, when there was nothing on it yet other than this little platform. I did a lot of like searching around the map and tried to find where could I place my map that when I inherit the terrain, it could add to the lore of the map. So I thought, okay, I'm looking at the original map. There's pathways, right, that vehicles have used that have defined like routes, so to speak, like this one here, this kind of dirt path. You know, it's there, subtle. You don't really see it a ton, but it's there. And I was like, hey, I could probably find a spot in this sandbox to use that. Before I did anything else, I just picked the spot. And I lined it up, but of course I have nothing there. I have no context for how big the map's going to be yet. So I started building here. I started on this garage so I could line up with this path here. So that I can just use the natural pathing to create like a muddy terrain here that goes through. It's got tire tracks in it. And it's just there to be used. And if I place my map in the right spot, like it just works, you know? And I get it to diverge over here. I also use a terrain rugged piece here. And it took a lot of time to get this right. Because I needed it to have the correct hills and valleys to match closely the original map. And I feel like I did a pretty dang good job for one piece of terrain. It took a lot of time. And I'm angling this piece of terrain tenths of a degree, stretching it, shrinking it, and then discovering that, oh, this is now like too far that direction, and going back to the drawing board for it. And then also making sure all these places here are still accessible. Like you should still be able to climb up here, you know, and all that. So all those considerations, I finally got it where I liked it. I started building the map out, and then I realized that there's a bit of a problem because there's a puddle here. And this puddle is, this water's conglomerating on top of a hill, which it shouldn't do. If the terrain's going to be wet, like theoretically it rained recently, that's fine. The terrain can be wet, but it should accumulate in a valley. This is bone dry, and the top of this hill is soaking wet. And no one else would notice except me. But it bothered me. So it needed motivation, is what I call it. It needed a reason for existing. And so I made these, whatever. I call them AC units, compression modules, whatever. And they, you know, it's humid here in East Africa. You're near the ocean. So any like temperature differential is going to create a fair bit of condensation. That's believable. That condensation is also going to, if it's constantly wet, going to have some accumulated vegetation, right? And so now, all of a sudden, this puddle makes sense. There's a constant stream of water feeding it. So it doesn't matter if it's on a hill. As long as it has the proper motivation, it can exist there. Yeah. That's why I never finish anything, is because that's the kind of like stuff I get caught up on. And you probably saw, this is just grass that I like just stretched really high because I didn't want it to look like a thick patch. I wanted it, and I changed them to be kind of diamond shaped, like 45 degrees, to make it look like it kind of is lower and thinner and then thicker and more closely packed together toward the middle. I don't know. So anyway, that solved the problem because it bothered me so much. Same here. Again, I didn't know exactly where it was going to stretch out to. I just know I wanted a path here that eventually turned off to the right. And I got pretty darn close, except this path here starts turning way too close. If I could wave a magic wand and move my entire map back this way about 50 units, I would. But I've tried moving pieces more than like 30 or 40 at a time, and it just gets all buggy, and it would just cause so many issues. And that was before I added most of the stuff I added. Yeah. So that's so for this one I put a garage door. That was actually a idea someone gave me, is to put a garage door here. Like, oh well, vehicles could come out of that because it looked weird having a flat wall and then tire tracks immediately like coming out of it. Like, right? That doesn't make any sense. So by putting like a garage there, all of a sudden it makes sense. Like, sure, there's like a forklift or something in there. Let's see. Nah, Folk Smash. Nah, just the Blender part, not the back parts. Hard to explain in text. I don't think about using Blender to do the mundane quick stuff then. And focus on the inside. Guess same-ish thing. Yep. Bloodhound utility room too. Yeah, utility room. So this is kind of a creative thing thing I added. Because I looked at the original map and it looks like there was supposed to be a room there, and they just kind of very, like, unceremoniously just blocked it off. So I was like, actually, you know, I'm looking for ways to just add a little more square footage in roughly the same footprint map. So that was an easy thing to do. Folk Smash, nice seeing a remake of this. Everyone always does the same old map remakes. Haven't seen Terminal yet. Always wait for you to do one and don't bother looking for others because I know they won't put the same love and care into it. I don't know. I've seen some great Terminal remakes. I've not seen one in Halo Infinite yet, and I suspect the train is, if someone is like thinking about approaching Terminal, the train is like, oh crap, if I do Terminal, I have to do the train, especially now. But the resource you have available, like, you have to do. You can make an argument like Halo 2 Anniversary. But like Halo 5, I made it work. I had to have the train tracks perfectly straight because I had to have the train be one solid unit. And so it has to go straight. It can't turn or look weird. But I'm like, I'm going to do it. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to have a working train. And I'm just signing myself up for a whole lot of pain. But I have a prototype over here that works somewhat. It kills things automatically, which is cool. And it curves. It just looks really janky. I need to just get better, more experience with scripting. Can it grow over time? The grass scale your time, I guess, similar to isolation. If you remember that, it'd be cool. I'm very, very useless, but very, very cool. Isolation. Let me think. Isolation. What's isolation? Remind me. What map is that? And are you referring to the grass? I mean, I'm sure it could, but a game's only going to last like 15, 20, 30 minutes at the most. And you're not, in the real world, you're not going to see grass grow that much in 30 minutes. If you won't see it grow at all in that amount of time. So, nah, I wouldn't do that just for the sake of it. Like other things I might do, like I might have, a freeway with cars passing by, or like another train. That would be cool. Another train passing overhead every once in a while. Folk Smash eventually makes tall grass line of sight blocker. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Oh, I know isolation. I didn't know the grass grew on that. That's cool. I didn't even notice that. It was like the flood-inspired map. The blank wall to the upper right of the garage door could be a giant window or something. Unbreakable glass to preserve firelight. It's funny you say that because I thought it would be pretty cool because I have the sun up here. I was like, it would be kind of cool if these thinner sections were like skylights, like the whole length. Just like a Tesla windshield kind of thing. And so you still can't like grapple through it and like go through the ceiling. But it would brighten up this whole area with some like natural light. So it's funny you mentioned that. Like making this a window, although I did put all this stuff here. I thought about making this a window there as well. Logan. LOL, literally the only person I know who would even think about the water needing to be in a valley and then using condensation radiation to explain its position. I know. Well, here's the thing. I totally agree with you. No one else would actively notice, consciously notice, but something about it wouldn't look right. And this is something that obviously I'm not in this industry at all, so I don't want to talk too much on it, but like that's something we've only begun to really like understand and get good at in like the VFX community. Is it just took time and practice where people finally like there's things that don't make sense and you don't know why, it just doesn't look quite right. It's that kind of stuff. So I agree with you. No one would like consciously be aware of it, but it does look odd, and you probably couldn't explain why without it being pointed out. Folk Smash. It's like the thing on Ascension. It never spins. Scares people. Halo 5 had some that did, but the huge performance issues or prefabs broke, etc. Haven't looked for an accurate Ascension with that in Halo Infinite yet. Oh, the rotating satellite dish, yeah. It didn't actually grow, I guess. I believe small patches started showing up, but the terrain itself would change, like texture-wise. Hard to explain. Oh, interesting. So what you're describing is like an uncanny valley. Yeah, it's more like... I don't know. You've probably seen VFX breakdowns, and they have like a layer shown. It's like, oh, that looks pretty good, and then they add like 40 more layers onto it, and I couldn't tell you what each layer is doing. And if you were to switch between like one layer and another layer and like add it and remove it, I couldn't tell you like one looked better than another. It's like being at the eye doctor when he's like one or two, and you're like, I don't know, they look the same. But you add them all up, and they're all these subtle things like that just add up to make sense. Apollo 7 windows in between those little trestles on that ledge will work too, but it's good either way. Here, the hard stuff. Thanks. Yeah, I was thinking that. Like just a giant window. It would just add a lot of pieces because I can get away with just making that one giant piece all the way across. So I'd have to double the number of pieces in here. Actually, triple, because I have to have another piece in there. So this whole, actually, quadruple. I'd have to quadruple the number of pieces in this roof to add a window. Oh, why is that? What is good? What? So it's in the back of my mind, but it's one of those, I'll have to remember that if I finish my map and I'm like, wow, I'm like way under budget. I could definitely add something cool here. Yeah, actually that needs to be... Oh, add like windows here. That would be cool. I want to maintain the design language of the station, so they would need to be kind of square. And honestly, for that reason, I don't super like the look of this because it doesn't entirely match. I think if I add some more wood tones and just kind of junk around, it would help blend it a little bit more. Right now, it looks kind of out of place. So if I did do windows, they would need to be... They need to be kind of square. They'd have to kind of line up and be like proportionately positioned between these. I think you could, and that would be cool. However, for things in nature and not just human faces, yeah, like it, no one would notice. Just something about it would look off, you know. Folks, my Squire Bean showed me a map recently with something similar to what you did. It wasn't as cool. I did with what? Like a terminal remake? Because I've been looking. I haven't seen anyone do one yet. Sorry about the ledge trestles. Logan, if you had to commute to work in a Warthog, Ghost, or Mongoose, which one would you choose? Oh, Warthog. Easy. I would do... I won't say specifically. I would do things to have a Warthog as my daily driver. We'll just leave it at that. The condensation map extra, yeah. So I'm not crazy. I mean, maybe I am, but it does make sense why I did it. I hope. Which Warthog variant? Probably just the OG Warthog, if we're being honest, you know. Most iconic. What I can do here is actually, if it will let me, magnetize it to the top one, so it's in the exact correct position. Just lower it down. The Halo 3 Troop Harrier Hog is quite practical for soccer practice. Yeah, I don't know if I would take my kids in Warthog. Golden Hog. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the easy answer. Golden Warthog. The Halo 2 Golden Warthog. Oh, okay. So there's like a story being told. That's the part I really like is the world building. It's the reason why I open up parts of the map to the outside world is so you can see context to what's going on outside of your little area. That really helps, in my opinion, cement a forged map in, I'll use air quotes, reality. Is when you feel like it's not just there for you to play multiplayer on, like there's actually something else going on here outside of, your conflict. Paul 7, I'd choose a ghost for that smooth ride, yeah. Can't go wrong. Folk Smash, Generator, blah, blah, blah. Yours is cooler, simpler, and more artistic. I don't know. I think it's more my OCD, personally. Is that still... It is. Map lore is important. Also provides players an easy way to come up with callouts for different areas. Yeah, like you have to add named locations, but it is helpful for kind of parameterizing yourself in the map. Logan, speaking of world building, have you done anything to tie this map or other maps into elements in the extended universe books, for example? It might be cool to add some of those Easter eggs. The expanded Halo universe? No. I have... I'm kind of ashamed to admit. I don't know why I'm ashamed to admit it, but I've done a lot of research, mostly geographical in nature, in regards to this area in modern-day Mombasa. I guess I can reveal it to you guys. The working title for this map is Liwatoni Station. That's what it's saved as, abbreviated LS, because that's what it's called in Halo 2. And there's even a district in Mombasa called Liwatoni. Spelled differently because Bungie misspelled it, but that's okay. I thought about naming it that. I've had a couple people jump in the streams occasionally, and they say they're working on a terminal remake as well. And they happen to mention that they are using the name Liwatoni Station. So it's kind of like, well, it sounds like there's going to be other maps out there that will likely get recognized, and if somebody's going to be done with their map before me and they have that name, I want a different name so they don't get confused. So American Bloodhound, I'd have a Scarab for all the wrong reasons, selling it to the government, holding the Canadian. Yeah, for sure. Folk Smash Easter egg, shoot vents, they blow up or disable, water stops dripping, the grass dies, script to move into the ground of sight, and the gardener comes out, cries, drops a spank. Oh gosh, that's amazing. Oh, that's hilarious. So the map name. So this is going to sound very unoriginal, but I promise it is more original than it sounds, if that makes any sense. So the original map was called Terminal. I think I'm going to name this one Terminus. I know you're probably like, okay, so it's basically the same name, just slightly different. Real original. I promise it's deeper than that. So, okay. You guys got me on a tangent now. Transit's cool. I like transit. I need, just me personally, I need more motivation. Think of transit makes me think of black. Paul 7 personally, I would stick with LS only because most likely the maps won't stick out like yours does. Yeah, Liwatoni Station's good, and if I feel like other people won't use it, and no one else has used it, then I will likely end up going with that. Own it, yeah. I might. So, Terminus maybe doesn't sound original, but it does a couple of things. A, it sounds like Terminal, so when you hear the name and you've played the original, you'll likely know roughly what the map is about. Second, going back to the world building element, there is a train station, one of the biggest infrastructure projects to take place in the country of Kenya since its inception, called Mombasa Terminus. And it opened in 2017. And it, right now, has only one line that goes between the capital of Kenya, Nairobi, to Mombasa, off the island. But there are tracks that lead into the island. So there's a Nairobi terminus, Mombasa terminus, and in my theoretical world, 500 years in the future, a Liwatoni terminus, right? So I think just terminus, I feel like Liwatoni terminus is just too long. I think terminus is good because it's a new terminus. This opened in 2017. It's pretty modern. And I can imagine in the future the same lines, same stations being reworked to support high-speed rail instead of the traditional like freight and passenger trains they're using now. So, and they're planning to expand the terminuses beyond Nairobi and Mombasa. But it ends literally like miles, like 3 miles from the island of Mombasa Island, where Liwatoni is. So it would make sense that eventually they might add a station called Liwatoni Station, or likely, because it's Nairobi Terminus, Mombasa Terminus, Liwatoni Terminus, is what I'm thinking. New Mombasa Terminus. Yeah. Won't it also have the added benefit of making many letters of the word terminal, so when someone searches for terminal... That's true. That's true. There's a lot of positive things from keeping the name fairly similar to terminal. Will there be payphones spitting out change? Probably not. It's more of an ODST thing. Yeah, folk asking the real questions. So anyway, that's the idea. I won't tell you how many like hours of... I've watched full-on like videos of people riding the train since it opened, and it's a big deal in Kenya. Like a train station for us in the West, like it's like, okay, cool. But this is like a huge infrastructure project, like massive. I think the biggest one, if not the biggest, close to the biggest they've ever done. So it is a big deal if you're Kenyan, this train station. So Mombasa Terminus, you know, there's a very significant train presence in that area of Kenya now, and it would just kind of follow logically that they may at one point add a Liwatoni terminus. So I think just terminus. That's what I'm thinking. So, well, after explaining, terminus has grown on me quickly. Yeah, so that's the idea. It sounds very unoriginal. It's just like, okay, it's like terminal, just slightly different. But that's kind of the map. It is like terminal, just slightly different. That's the map. It's mostly terminal. American Bloodhound, you should find a place on the map to leave a link in a YouTube video explaining the name. Not a bad idea. I'm gonna when I am ready, so I'm gonna do like a beta release of the map when it has all the spawn points and it has the nav mesh and it supports bots and all that. But I'm not ready to fully publish it yet, like submit it as like a map for consideration. I want to get it out there, so I'll do like a beta version, and I'll get feedback from that and make changes, and then eventually submit like a polished, finished version, at least maybe like a V1, and like version 1.0. And I'm gonna go all out with, like, I'm going to have it on Forge Hub and have a description there. I'm going to make a dedicated YouTube video on it with a full description there and explanation of all this. If I can, try to submit it to Halo Waypoint to be featured in like one of their Forge map features and just have a link to the whole lore and explanation of the map. Like, it's going to be pretty extensive, you know. Basically, get all the data and research and like just try to get you in the same mindset I'm in this map. Just kind of the explanation there. More than I can really do in a live stream where I'm also trying to simultaneously forge. But anyway, that's the idea. So a YouTube video, yeah, like I'm going to make a YouTube video on it, but I'm also just going to have it documented in words in a lot of places. What's your opinion on the Master Cheeks being revealed in Paramount Plus series? Would you have preferred the cheeks revealed to come in one of the games or a cutscene? I would have preferred we took off his helmet. It was just a pair of cheeks. You know? No, I don't know. I bought a Paramount Plus subscription just for that show, and I only made it like halfway through. There were things about it I really like. When they chose to showcase the Spartans in a light where they would really be, which is basically these unstoppable gods in Mjolnir armor, it was cool. There were a few scenes where like it was really fun to watch. But yeah, it's the story of Halo that's compelling, and I think they like it makes sense that a video game and a series have to have some creative differences, because you are enjoying a video game for different reasons you're enjoying a movie. In a video game, you are that character, and the conflict that you have to overcome, it's just you having to do something physical and like physically achieve something, do something, and it's a test of your skill in the game. Spartans are, and so your Spartan character is theoretically invincible, but he's hindered by your skill level. So that's an easy way to explain it. When you're watching a show, these have to be convincing people that aren't perfect. They're flawed, and they can't just be this overwhelming, unstoppable force, because that might be fun for an episode or two, but they have to have some sort of conflict and a resolution and some weakness, right? Like, that's not a compelling show. So I understand there have to be creative differences for it to work as a very different piece of media. Like, it just does. There have to be differences to make it more compelling. That being said, some of the changes they decided to make, I don't understand at all. I don't get it. Bro, I don't know if I'm tired thinking, but have paintings up somewhere on the map. Pretty sure you got bizarre pictures somewhere. Put a QR code behind one, so when you shoot the picture, that's a great idea. I love that. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty cool. I really like that the more I think about it. And it's a link to my YouTube video. That'd be really cool. American Bloodhound, as long as I get the Master Cheeks, I'll be happy. QR code linking to a map explanation. American Bloodhound, ha, so when you end a Spartan matchmaking, you're clapping Master Cheeks. Yep, exactly. This is 41.15. This needs to be shorter than that because it has... Oh, it has a 45-degree angle. This is going to be a little bit of guesswork here. Looks like Logan had a question. Would you prefer a Halo series that's all CGI produced by Blur or a Halo series produced and written by HBO, The Last of Us, Chernobyl? So that kind of goes back to what I said about there needing to be like conflict. Is the Blur cutscenes, they're only a couple minutes at a time. You could have you basically show whatever you want in that amount of time and it's going to look awesome. It's like making something engaging for the long term. You have to have something for the people you're invested in to overcome and do. So I think the Blur cutscenes work for the medium they're in, short-term stuff. And as much as everyone's like, Blur should make like a whole full-length video, like they could, but I feel like they'd run into the same issue where their characters need to be vulnerable, which if you've read the books, Spartans aren't really vulnerable. So it would be tricky regardless of who did it. Or produced and written by HBO, Last of Us, Chernobyl. I mean, honestly, if it's anything like Chernobyl, then I would love it. I loved that documentary. It was amazing. Docudrama. It would be cool to see like a big studio like HBO take on Halo. I think you're always going to have an issue satisfying the long-term fans and people who are, just freshly exposed to the series. I feel like everything's getting slightly off. The more over this way I get. That looks good. No, not quite. Folks mash HBO. Blur looks incredible, but HBO does the story and the good-looking stuff. Blur doing their thing, while HBO leaves the narrative. Would be cool. Remake Blood on just tell a Halo 2 story again. Grab new viewers that wouldn't have played the game. Apollo 7, tell a Halo story from a new perspective while sticking to source material for the overall story. I kind of like that idea, Apollo 7. So I think of maybe another popular IP that people have been wanting to see more of, and characters that you've seen in the past and they bring them back as kind of a cash grab and you hope it's good, but it hasn't lived up to expectations. So I'm thinking of Star Wars, right? I love Star Wars. I think we need to just leave the main characters from their stories that we know and love. I think we need to just leave them alone for a while. Maybe forever. The recent Star Wars media that's been the best recently, I mean, this is just from my own personal perspective, but also if you look at like critical and audience acclaim, they're the Star Wars universe stories. They're the stories that take place, in the wake of major events we know of, but they you have new characters, right? And for many reasons that's good, because you get fresh ideas. You're not beholden to, some Star Wars manga like thing that was written 20 years ago and like, oh, that's considered lore, that's canon. You have new characters you can do whatever you want with, and you just have to make sure the high points, the significant events all match up. But for the most part, you can be creatively pretty liberal with what you want to do with the story. So I think of the best contributions recently to Star Wars media, at least in like a show or movie component. I think of Rogue One. I loved Rogue One. That was great. All new characters taking place during events that we know, but just a different perspective. I think of The Mandalorian. Again, we'll just occasionally run into someone from somewhere we've seen previously, but the core of the story is around a new person, new perspective on the same events and seeing how it's affected them, right? I think of even Solo, the Star Wars story. Like, we are looking at Han Solo, but we're going far enough back that we're not dealing with any events that have already taken place. That's not right. So that's what I'm thinking. I think you're right. I think a Halo universe story, and you have one scene in one episode where Master Chief shows up, and it's cool and impactful. Like, spoilers, turn away if you've not watched season 2 of The Mandalorian. When a certain character shows up at the end of season 2, and it hits so hard because you haven't even been thinking about this character, but you're like, oh my gosh, like, it's so good to see them on screen. But it's not like just some shameless, needless cameo. Like, it actually had purpose and meaning. Like, you could have a Halo adjacent story and then have one episode, one interaction where Master Chief shows up, and it can really like hit hard and be good. So you could have Master Chief in it to an extent. But anyway, I'm like getting off on a tangent now, but I think you see what I'm getting at. A Halo adjacent story is what I'd like to see. Just tell a Halo 2 story. Tell a story from new perspectives. Sticking to the source material exactly. That was the thing, is they diverged so far from material. It's like, this isn't. We don't like this. Like, this isn't the story we love. Like, you can still keep it canon and be accurate to the lore. You could just focus on a different perspective, and it could be all fresh, and you won't anger fans, ideally. All right, that's going to need some TLC, but we'll get to that in a minute. Make Henry Cavill the Master Chief. He's probably actually played the games. Exactly, and you need people on the team who've actually played the freaking games, or at least know the story. American Bloodhound, yeah, Star Wars flopped. I mean, the mainline ones did, but like, I'm digging Mandalorian. I think someone mentioned the Respawn game, Star Wars Fallen Order. Like, all these like Star Wars adjacent stories are really good. Solo made Lando gay. It did? I don't remember that. I mean, it wasn't as well received as the other ones I mentioned, but it was like still decently received. All of the non-mainline Star Wars media have done much better than the supposedly like mainline Star Wars. ODST on HBO. That would be cool. Apollo 7. I would love a story from the perspective of a Marine on the first Halo landing. They were sent on missions beyond what Chief did. Oh, yeah. There's all kinds of things and people that went to the ring. Plenty of potential there. Apollo 7 could have an EP where they join up with Chief on Silent Cartographer. Logan, your channel deserves so many more subscribers. Have you considered using TikTok or YouTube Shorts to try and pull in viewers from different platforms? It's funny you should mention that. So I did try Shorts for my like Black Friday deals video because that was an easy one to condense. Actually, I didn't make a full-length video for those. I was wanting to make a deals video, but it takes me so long to crank out a video, and I'm like, you know what? This can be real simple. I'm just making people aware of holiday deals. You know, this doesn't need to be. What am I trying to do here? I don't know if this is going to work on this part. Shoot. I did that for my holiday tech deals video. And it worked okay. I have a video coming out hopefully this weekend. And while I was making that, also made a short that I'm going to release simultaneously that will give kind of the high points and like a precursor to the video, and then link you to the full video for, you know, my full thoughts. Because it's going to be a 20-minute video. All right, guys, what am I getting wrong here? American Bloodhound, what about a series that shows a very serious story of a Marine and their swim on a planet and grew up on a farm and then joined up to make enough money for his folks to retire? Just have Master Chief stick him with a grenade or fishtail splatter him at the end of each episode. You know what's funny is my son plays Halo. Love him to death. He's a terrible driver. And he's very like, he likes like keeping his Marines alive, but he's terrible at keeping them alive. Like on Silent Cartographer, just accidentally grenades them all the time. And he plays on easy, and I don't know if they shoot back at you on easy. They might, but they never seem to. Just constantly killing them on accident. And there's like it's easy, so there's always a huge group of Marines at the end when you get the Warthog, at the end of the first encounter when you get a Warthog. And he just like, get in. He's like, my friends. And he drives up to him and like, you know, runs over like 4 of them. In Halo 1, you die instantly. And some will get in and go with him, and then he comes back 10 minutes later with an empty Warthog, dead Marines, and I can just see him barreling around the corner, and the Marines like, he's coming back! And he's like, my friends! Runs a bunch of them over again. It's really funny. It's also really funny listening to him, like, describe the events of Halo in his 5-year-old way. He's, like, describing Halo 2. And he's like, yeah, I was an arbiter, and I went to this big hole and found a girl, and she had the light bulb, and the grumpy gorilla didn't like that she had the light bulb, and so they tried to take it from her, and then him and his friends came, the monkey friends. He's like, and I'm like trying to like, okay, so this is Halo 2 you're talking about, you know, like, okay, that's Tartarus, like decipher the events of Halo from a 5-year-old's perspective. Logan, I think the idea of TikTok and shorts that you need to release a bunch of them and hope that it hits the algorithm. I think you're right. I think what I could do is just take my old videos and maybe cut them up so that they're like under a minute and just release a bunch of those and just make that an exercise. Instead of making all new videos, just try to take videos that don't age, you know, fairly universal stuff, like not new releases and things, because obviously that's going to be old news now. And try that. Logan, the other thing with shorts is that you can create one piece of content and drop it on like 5 platforms. That's true. Folk Smash Johnson made him call 343 the light bulb. Yeah, he calls the Oracle the light bulb. I watch travel vloggers do that and it works. Yeah, definitely. I was supposed to be finishing up that video tonight, but my wife went to bed early and left me the Steam Deck. So I'm like, well, I'm going to use this opportunity. So, Logan, you should record at least the audio of these conversations and create a series of kid. My wife's told me that. She's like, hey, you should record this and eventually get someone to like animate it. It'd be really funny. And just the way he talks about like the monkey and his friends. I was just like, yeah. Apollo 7, by the way, how many ways can players get up to that new section of the hotel? Okay, so this is where I want to be conscientious of over-fragmenting maps. This was a huge problem in Halo 4. Specifically, all of the, not all, but a lot of the developer maps were just, there were so many redundant pathways. Like, it was insane. So I want to avoid that. I want to make you commit to a path and make there be rewards and consequences for choosing that way, and you kind of have to stick to it. But I also want to not make it so fragmented that the map becomes hard to navigate and you can get lost or trapped somewhere. So it's a tough thing to balance. So this is the ways you can get up. So I think you can get up there kind of two main ways from the bottom. You have a staircase here, and this is going to be like a check-in, like a desk, and a bunch of bookshelves behind it that I'm going to stylize to look like, you know, the wall with a bunch of keys and doors and stuff. So this is like a hotel check-in, and then a hallway that's like blocked off so you can't go down there. And then a stairway up here to like a main atrium lobby type thing. Right here, like another desk up here, like guest services or something. So that's kind of one way, right? And this will be kind of open so you can drop down. And then I'll have to break up this like lengthy area too. There's this one down here. Right. So you just go around this, go up this way. And you're inside. And then you could also get there if you're up here. You can technically jump in the window there. And also the path this way. This is like the main path you're supposed to be using it for. Is it's out of the way and you're risking getting hit by the train, but you're a little bit safer. A little bit safer, but it takes you longer. You're giving the defending team time to get back to your base, but you're very concealed over here. You know, but then you run the risk of getting hit by the train here, and then over here. So that path worries me that it's a little bit too roundabout to get used. But I want to like incentivize people to use it. So I think this positioning is good, and the obvious like easy counter to that is the Wraith. The Wraith can just lob Wraith shots right into here. So I haven't tested any of this, so this could just fail miserably, but I feel like it should work decent. It's honestly brilliant. Oh, having my son narrate Halo. It would do so well in something like Reddit, totally. I would instantly click on our Halo post of any kid explaining the events at the end of Halo 2. Yeah, if you've ever seen those videos like Kid History, it's basically these parents have told their kids stories of when they were kids, and then they have the kids tell the stories back, and then the adults act out the story the way the kids are explaining it. And the kids aren't using the right words, but you know what the kids are like talking about. So you kind of piece it together. So it would be similar to that, I think. The new segmentation, Folksmash, new segmentation sort of reminds me of headlongs, if that makes sense. It does make sense. It's funny you say that, because that was kind of a big, like, motivation, is kind of the way headlong is. You have your vehicle gameplay at ground level, and then the more roundabout pathing for foot traffic that kind of goes around the exterior of the map. So it's more roundabout, it's slower, but it's safer, and you can do it alone. Whereas if you want to go straight across the wide open area in the center, you need a vehicle, and you typically need a teammate. Paul said exactly what I was thinking. Yep. Overshield and tunnel between those two doors could solve the problem. Yeah, so I was thinking overshield is actually on top of, I think, this like support. I'm thinking about moving it. Either kind of putting it out of the way over here, Another thing I could do is for objective game types, you have to do like King of the Hill. This would be a great hill location. Right here. Or Total Control or whatever. Same with like this like hill. Like you have literally King of the Hill on this hill over here. Like this platform there. Bloodhound. I've seen those videos. Are pretty funny. Yeah. Logan. Also, many diehard Halo fans are parents now. That's true. Some of you weren't here when I showed this, but you'll notice the Warthog's actually damaged because of a script that damages it right when the game begins. Like I can have these effects going on, but what sells is actually seeing the Warthog with visible like Warthog damage, like missing a hood and a tailgate and sparking and stuff. So when you're looking at it from over here, you know, it actually looks like a damaged Warthog. So yeah, in the Wraith, like this path is only like so safe because you can, you're safer from the Wraith than being at ground level, but again, it's more roundabout. It's a tricky thing trying to balance the look of the original map, but add additional pathing and routes and whatnot. Didn't mean to do that. What's the plan for the lifted retaining wall? So I wanted there to be, actually hurt me. I wanted there to be a little bit of cover here, right? So an easy way to do that, like these have cover, but I thought having one kind of sticking up really makes it feel like a work in progress, you know? So I'm going to have, obviously this is like a dirt pile. You would expect dirt to be spilling out of this. So I could do that, but you have to think they're putting the wall down. So you can't have dirt spilling out. They would have had to already retain it temporarily somehow. So I'm actually going to use something similar to what I did over here, where I have dirt, but it has this gate material. So it's like dirt peeking through, but compacted dirt. And then it looks like there's a gate kind of integrated into it that's holding it temporarily. So it'll be just a wall, effectively. But it'll just be a wall. But look like it's still held back. I remember doing that in the Halo 2 anniversary and thinking it was so cool. Old school Halos had a fusion coil or two drop on the hog or a vehicle would send it somewhere random most of the time. Halo 2 anniversary had the explosion volumes though, and one could deal like 15% damage. Oh, that's cool. Just put a big shield door. Plasma holds up dirt temporarily for construction workers. Boom. Future. Next gen is here. Nice. Oh, yeah. So the whole reason I was focusing on this is starting to come together, was so I could put my sign up. This is going to be Hotel Liwatoni. But I'm trying to stylize it the way Hotel Zanzibar is stylized, with like a 4% tilt, like italicized at like 4% angle, and then certain area, and then vertical sections are narrow, horizontal sections are tall, and then also have them not fully connect in some areas. So, but I kind of needed the rest of this roof built before I could do that. So yeah, you could argue I shouldn't even be like focusing on this, but yeah. So Hotel Louis Vuitton. And these are actually just fans, but I thought the back looked like a billboard, so I was kind of saving that idea. I was like, oh, I could use these. So anyway, I don't know how to line it up. If I should Hotel Louis Vuitton here, or in Hotel Zanzibar, it's actually up here. But I think it might be too small. Now, you could obviously read it if it's that small, but I did a test on this previously. If these pieces are below a certain size, they disappear from your vision sooner as you back away. So I actually have them peeking through the back to make them actually even bigger. Because I'm not quite sure what the threshold is, if it's an overall volume kind of thing, or if it's what's its largest X, Y, Z direction, and it uses that as the calculus for determining whether or not it manifests on the screen. I don't know what it is. So I just made them as big as possible where you couldn't see them, you know. But if you look, when I go out to here, it actually renders the whole time. I mean, it fades out right about here. But I did this before. They were smaller. And even being like here, they would disappear. And that's obviously a problem. Like, I can't have it disappear at this distance. Like, that would obviously look weird. So I can only make it so small. If I can make it small enough to fit here diagonally, that would be preferred. But I don't know if I could spell Hotel Louis Vuitton in that space. And I know that's what the engine is supposed to do. It's supposed to delete stuff that you're not going to notice to save on resources. So it's good that it does that. Honestly, that might actually work. That might actually work. I wouldn't have to downsize it that much. You know what? That totally works. It looked way too big, but, I mean, I think that works. I need to put like a little gate up here at the top. But overall, yeah. Hotel Louis Vuitton. I do have to downsize it a little bit so that it like only sticks out to maybe like that panel and that panel. But I think that would work. That would be really cool. I'm excited for that. All right, let me catch up on the chat here. Logan, what is the highest ranking member of the Covenant you think you could beat in a boxing match? Grunt, maybe. I don't think a Jackal. And definitely not, obviously, an Elite or anything else. So a Grunt, maybe. Even Grunts, like, I don't know if any of you have been to Halo Outpost Discovery, but they had, like, full-size, like, how big the members of the Covenant are. You forget when you're playing Halo, you're walking around as, like, a 9-foot-tall, like, 1,000-pound giant, like, punching Grunt skulls in and stuff. But, like, normal-sized person. Grunt's, like, 5'5". That's like a size of a person. And they weigh like 200 or 300 pounds, so it's like they're not tiny. And Jackals are like 6 feet tall or whatever. And Elites, obviously, or Elites. So maybe a Grunt. That'd be the extent of it, I think. Grunt, if I had a couple weeks to get fit, yeah. Folk Smash, you could make that into an Easter egg. Get far enough away, render distance, make stuff disappear, then sign in a hello, something. That'd be funny. That's the kind of stuff I would totally do and then get like lost in. Um, Honestly, I could do it without having to rely on the size of the object and distance away by leveraging trigger volumes, or not trigger volume, but like location. I forget what they're called, like location checkers, boundary checkers. I forget what they're called. Scripting it basically, and just telling certain things to appear or disappear depending on like where you are on the map. Folk smash. In between hotel and the other word that in too tired to think to spell. Put a payphone spinning change. Matchmaking quality. Logan, I could beat the hell out of one of those floating turtle things. Yeah, the engineers probably because they don't fight back. Merrick Bloodhound, if you could catch it, how are you going to punch through its energy shields? Folk Smash could also just make the sign flicker, like some electric components are loose to spell another word and then go back to correct spelling. And everyone on every platform would see it. That's true. That's another thing to consider. The ODSTs had to smack it with guns repeatedly. Another thing to consider is it may show up fine for me on a gaming computer with a 3080 Ti. Subtle flex there. But that I don't know how it works on, like if I try to play the same map on the Steam Deck, is the render distance the same? Or if you have it on like low quality, is it going to disappear sooner? That's the thing is, thankfully I have a Steam Deck. I have it right here. So I'll have to boot up Halo Infinite. I could forge on the Steam Deck. It actually works really well. And it's great for just like laying in bed, not quite ready to go to sleep. I just like forge for a little bit. So I could load it up in there and just kind of see how it looks. I'd be a madman and test that to what you said. I would head case over crap like that. Yeah. American Bloodhound, do you think Steam Decks are going to replace gaming laptops? It's funny you should ask. Somebody made a video about just that subject. And it's even called Are Gaming Laptops Dead? Is what it's called. And they use the Steam Deck with a bunch of accessories to see if you can replace a gaming laptop. No, not Linus Tech Tips. Speaking of LTT, got my LTT screwdriver right here. It's great. I love this thing. But I pitched that video in a provocative way, intentionally, partially to get views, but partially because I just thought that was a fun way to pitch it. But basically, our gaming laptop's dead, and I have like RIP on the screen, on the thumbnail and stuff. And obviously, no, gaming laptops are not dead. They fulfill a different purpose. And I likened I basically used an example that I come across all the time. I have a minivan because most of the time I need a minivan. It needs to be able to schlep a bunch of kids around places, and minivans are great for that. Occasionally, I need to put all the seats down and put like a big piece of plywood in the van, but that's super rare. Or maybe I need something even bigger than that, and I get like a trailer, and I tow like a trailer with something, obviously it's a minivan, I can't tow much, but something. And someone may see a minivan towing a trailer and be like, why don't you just get a truck? But what they don't know is like, this is a very like one-time thing. 99% of the time I just need a minivan. So for me, I'm not in school anymore. My work supplies me with a laptop. And I don't even really commute hardly at all. So I don't need to I don't need full computer capabilities with me everywhere I go. I don't really have a need for a laptop. I bought a Surface Go like 6 years ago, and it runs Windows 10. And when I occasionally need some mobile Windows 10, I bring that, and it's fine. I spent $400 on it like 6 years ago. That's all I need, and it's super rare. I haven't used it in probably a year. However, a Steam Deck I use all the time, but it's mostly like around the house. Like the example I just gave, when I'm playing Steam Deck, I'm like forging Halo Infinite in bed. It's honestly, I think it's just way easier to pull up a Steam Deck and like start doing stuff with it, especially because you can turn it on and off, and it's right back where you left it. Whereas a laptop, you can put it in like sleep mode and whatever, but it's not quite the same experience. It doesn't suspend and resume quite as seamlessly. So that's the thing. That's the point. Steam Deck will probably absorb some people who were prospective gaming laptop buyers. I'm sure the Steam Deck ate into that a little bit. Does that totally remove like gaming laptops as a viable option? Like, no. Like, there's a lot of situations where a gaming laptop makes a lot more sense than a Steam Deck, mostly because gaming laptops can do a lot more than just game. They're also full-fledged laptops. And I would not want to write a script for one of my videos typing on the Steam Deck's like screen keyboard. That I would rather die. So, no, the Steam Deck is not the end of gaming laptops. It's just a new avenue to experience games, and that will eat into some laptop sales, I'm sure. But I think it more just opens up possibilities for people like me who have had a mild need for mobile, semi-mobile gaming, but is not going to just needlessly drop $2,000 on a gaming laptop just so I could game on my couch instead of my desk. So that's really it. It's just another medium to use. Anyway. LOL, I mean as they get cheaper. Steam Decks or gaming laptops? Because Steam Deck is a phenomenal value. Like, it's a great value for what you're getting. Honestly, if it never got cheaper, like, it's still a fantastic value. Let's see. American Bloodhound, does anyone ever zoom out and look at how remarkably specific our preferences have become? Like, how quickly did pioneers need to boot up their shovel? Yeah, right. Yeah, the first world problems, right? Apollo 7, have you ever considered using xCloud to run your reference Halo MCC when your wife uses Steam Deck? Yeah, and honestly, like, I could probably run both on the same computer. Obviously, it's going to be running 2 games, and the performance is going to take a hit for that reason. But, I mean, you can see up here, like, you know, I'm on a ultra-wide display here, and I'm not, like, suffering. So I have the performance bandwidth to do that. Selfish me wants more streams, yeah. So I could probably run both. I think I'm more likely to encounter like bugs or things going on. Now, obviously, I'd have to be logged into Microsoft in 2 locations, but if I put Steam in offline mode, it'll let me go into MCC. I'm in offline mode now, I think, for MCC, and it's letting me do it just fine on the Steam Deck. So I think I could run both. It's more... Honestly, I like to blame my wife for why I don't stream more, but it's honestly like this is about how frequently as I can do it. It's just like, hey, if there's an excuse there, I'll use it. But in reality, like, this is about how frequently as I can do it. I still forge around. Like, again, going back to the Steam Deck, like, if I will forge, 20 minutes here, 40 minutes there. It's just not worth, like, the effort to, like, I have a full green screen here. You can see. Oh, showing you behind the curtain. It's a full-on like green screen. Getting that down, getting the lights just right, testing my microphone, starting the stream. Like, it's so much easier just like pick up the Steam Deck if I have like not less than an hour and just like forge a little bit. Like, I'll just do that. Yeah, it's just a green screen. I could. Yeah, it's just a green screen I have suspended from the ceiling. That, you know, in OBS I have it calibrated to like remove anything that's a certain hue, the exact green of this screen. What's funny is it's so closely calibrated that if I put my hand in front of the camera will change its like white balance and it will make it look fuzzy. So if I do this, you can kind of see my green screen starting to come back in. See, but then I move my hand away and then it corrects, white balances correctly, and it's back to where I calibrated it. So, yeah, it's just a green screen. I liked, like you could imagine, and put my mouse, the window would be like this big and would be covering a lot more of the screen. I should probably be talking this way in my mic. It'd be covering a lot more of the screen if I didn't have the green screen. So now you get me and don't need the needless like stuff in the background. So anyway, it's good. I have it, so I'm like, yeah, I may as well use it. All right, thanks for the question, guys. This is a really fun discussion. And like, don't get me wrong, I love streaming and I love answering questions and just shooting the breeze. But I do get a lot more done when it's just me and I have like a Halo Power Mix playlist and I just stream and I don't talk, don't do anything. I just like, I can just bang out a bunch of stuff really quick. So I try to balance it. Like if I had the time to just always stream and always be this engaging as I'm doing it, I would love to, but it would take me like a year to finish this map. If I didn't do any forging outside of my streams, it would legit take me a year. So it's a balance. So I think like once a week, we're getting more people watching, which is cool. So if that continues, I might make it a regular thing, like a certain day and time of the week. So anyway. What? This triangle corner or what? Oh, right here? Yeah. Oh, Jesus, 1240. Okay. Well, I think we're going to call it here. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate the conversation, the questions. Yeah, Mountain Time as well. I'll probably try to stream like next weekend. I'll do more of this in the meantime. So by the time I stream next, I'd like to have like most of this done, most of this hotel done, and my sign put up, which is like the whole reason I'm focusing on this. So anyway, thanks guys, appreciate it. Keep an eye out for my other video that's gonna drop. I guess I could tell you guys what it is. I got my hands on the new PlayStation DualSense Edge controller. It's basically PlayStation's equivalent of this bad boy here, the Elite controller. It's like the Sony version of that. So I got my hands on that, and I compared it to this. I compared it to this accessory, which attaches to the back of an Xbox controller, but actually adds compatibility for PlayStation just by attaching it, which is cool. And a third-party PlayStation Elite controller, basically. So I'm basically reviewing 4 controllers in one, which is why it's a 20-minute video, because it's really 4 reviews in one, because I don't have a bunch of time for videos, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to make 4 videos on this, like I just don't have the time. I can make one video and cover 4 products in it, but it's going to be a long video. So anyway, that video should be out, in all honesty, probably Monday morning, because that's when I get the most boost in traffic. So I'll probably wait to release that one for Monday morning. So anyway, it's a good one. A lot of cool things, a lot of innovative features, but it's also obvious that Microsoft has had more experience making devices in this category. There's just simple things that, I don't know. It kind of shows that they have more. They've been making these for like 7 years now. So the magnetic thumb caps specifically, like the PlayStation ones have removable ones, but they're plastic, and you have to work pretty hard to get them off, and they don't easily go in, and they feel and sound like they're gonna snap. Whereas this, it's literally like. So anyway, be on the lookout for that. It's 20 minutes of me basically talking about controllers. So anyway. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.